The last rays of sunset painted the towering redwoods in shades of amber and gold as Maya Chen made her final patrol of the day. After 5 years as a ranger in Redwood National Park, she knew every trail, every bend in the creek, and every ancient giant that pierced the sky. But tonight, something felt different. The usual evening chorus of birds had fallen silent, and the air held an electric charge that made the hair on her arms stand on end. Maya checked her watch, 8:47 p.m. She should have been heading back to her cabin by now, but the strange atmosphere in the forest demanded investigation. Adjusting her ranger hat and gripping her flashlight tighter, she ventured deeper into the grove. The first sign that something was truly wrong came when she spotted faint purple light filtering through the trees ahead. It pulsed with an otherworldly rhythm, casting strange shadows that danced across the forest floor. Maya's rational mind suggested it might be teenagers with LED lights or perhaps an unauthorized film crew. But her instincts screamed that this was something entirely different. As she approached the source of the light, the air grew thick with an odd metallic taste. A low hum vibrated through her chest, and the temperature dropped several degrees. Maya rounded a massive redwood trunk and stopped dead in her tracks. There, in a small clearing, lay what could only be described as a spacecraft. It was roughly the size of a small bus, but its design defied earthly engineering. The vessel seemed to be made of flowing liquid metal, its surface rippling like mercury under moonlight. Geometric patterns of purple light traced across its hull, forming complex symbols that shifted and changed as she watched. "Oh my God," Maya whispered, her words forming clouds in the suddenly frigid air. She reached for her radio, then hesitated. Who would she even call? What would she say? Before she could decide, a section of the ship's hull began to move. The metal flowed like water, creating an opening where moments ago there had been seamless surface. Maya took an involuntary step backward, her hand moving to the bear spray on her belt, a laughably inadequate defense against whatever might emerge. The figure that stepped out of the ship was both eerily familiar and utterly alien. Humanoid in basic shape, but nearly 7 feet tall, with skin that seemed to shimmer between deep purple and silver like the northern lights. It's her. Movements were fluid and graceful, almost like underwater ballet. The being's eyes were its most striking feature, large, multifaceted like a dragonfly's, and swirling with colors Maya had no names for. The alien took one step forward, then another, moving with careful precision as if testing Earth's gravity. It raised 4-fingered hands in what appeared to be a peaceful gesture. "I mean you no harm," it spoke, its voice a melodic combination of tones that somehow formed perfect English. "Though I confess, I never truly believed I would meet one of your kind." Maya found her voice, though it came out shakier than she'd like. "What do you mean?" The alien's head tilted slightly, an oddly human gesture. "In my civilization, humans are considered mythological beings. Stories tell of a species that achieved incredible things through determination alone, without the gifts of advanced evolution. Most consider such tales to be fantasy. After all, how could a species advance so far without natural psychic abilities or biological technology?" A surprised laugh escaped Maya's throat. "You're telling me that humans are your version of unicorns?" "I do not know what a unicorn is," the alien replied, "but if you mean a creature of legend that many doubt exists, then yes. I am called Nyara, and I am what you would call a xenoanthropologist. I study the myths of ancient civilizations. When my ship's drive malfunctioned in your solar system, I never imagined I would have the opportunity to prove or disprove humanity's existence." Maya holstered her bear spray, her scientific curiosity overwhelming her fear. "I'm Maya Chen, Park Ranger. And I have to tell you, this is definitely not how I expected my evening patrol to go." "The feeling is mutual," Nyara said, and Maya could have sworn there was a hint of humor in those musical tones. "My research suggested humans would respond to first contact with either aggression or panic. You seem to be doing neither." "Give me time," Maya replied dryly. "The panic might still kick in." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden flash of purple light from the ship, followed by a sound like crystal breaking. Nyara turned quickly, concern evident in her fluid movements. "That's not good, is it?" Maya asked. "No," Nyara confirmed. "The crash damaged my ship's core systems more severely than I initially assessed. Without repairs." She hesitated. "The resulting energy release would devastate this entire forest." Maya looked up at the ancient redwoods surrounding them, some over 2,000 years old. These trees had survived countless fires, storms, and the march of human progress. She wasn't about to let them be destroyed by an alien power core meltdown. "Then we better figure out how to fix it," she said firmly. "I may not have any psychic abilities or biological technology, but I do have a degree in mechanical engineering that I never got to use because I fell in love with these woods instead. Let's prove those myths about human determination right." Nyara's multifaceted eyes seemed to sparkle. Perhaps the legends of humanity's resourcefulness weren't exaggerated after all. As they turned toward the damaged ship, Maya couldn't help but smile. Somewhere in the universe, there were beings telling stories about humans around their equivalent of campfires. And now she had the chance to show one of them that sometimes, myths turn out to be true. Dawn painted the redwood canopy in streaks of gold as Maya hurried back to the crash site, her backpack loaded with tools from her cabin's maintenance shed. She'd spent half the night helping Nyara stabilize the ship's core systems using a bizarre combination of alien technology and hardware store basics. Who knew duct tape could hold together quantum circuits? The alien vessel came into view, its liquid metal surface now dulled to a matte finish as it conserved power. Nyara sat cross-legged beside it, her iridescent skin reflecting the morning light as she manipulated holographic displays that flickered in the air before her. "I brought coffee," Maya called out, holding up a thermos. "Though I'm not sure if your species does caffeine." Nyara's multifaceted eyes shifted to focus on her. "We do not. But I would be fascinated to try it. My research suggests this beverage holds great cultural significance for humans." Maya laughed as she settled down beside the alien, pouring 2 cups. "You could say that. Some days it's the only thing keeping human civilization running." She watched as Nyara carefully lifted the cup, studying the steam rising from its surface. "The temperature indicates it should be consumed with caution," Nyara observed, then took a careful sip. Her eyes widened, the colors within them swirling faster. "The molecular structure is interesting. I can feel it interacting with my neural pathways." "Yeah, that's the caffeine kick," Maya grinned. "So, while we wait for the power core to stabilize, mind telling me more about these myths about humans? I'm curious what kind of stories your people tell about us." Nyara set down the coffee cup, her movements deliberate. "There are many versions, but the most common tells of beings who reached for the stars without natural advantages. No telepathy, no biological computing, no ability to photosynthesize or manipulate energy fields. Just determination and what we considered primitive tools." "Hey," Maya protested good-naturedly, "those primitive tools got us to the moon." "Exactly," Nyara's voice carried a note of wonder. "You built mechanical computers from metal and silicon. You harnessed nuclear power without natural radiation resistance. You created artificial flight without gravitational organs. To my people, these achievements seemed as fantastical as, what was the word you used? Unicorns?" Maya leaned back against a tree trunk, considering this. "So we're basically space cavemen to you?" "More like, legendary warriors who fought nature itself and won," Nyara corrected. "But many believe the stories were exaggerated. Surely no species could advance so far without evolutionary advantages. The debate has raged in our academic circles for centuries." "And what do you believe?" Maya asked. Nyara's gaze turned to the towering redwoods around them. "I believe that limitations breed innovation. These trees, for example. They cannot move to find water or light, so they grew to impossible heights. They cannot speak, so they communicate through chemical signals and interconnected root systems. They turn their limitations into advantages. Just like humans, Maya nodded, understanding. Just like humans, Nyara agreed. Though I admit, I never expected to test my theories personally. She gestured to the ship's damaged hull. My people would simply interface with the ship's consciousness to repair it. But without that ability. We do it the human way, Maya finished, reaching for her toolbox. With sweat, creativity, and maybe a little more duct tape. Their work was interrupted by a distant sound that made Maya freeze, voices on the hiking trail, approaching their position. She quickly doused their small campfire and motioned for Nyara to hide. Park visitors, she whispered. They can't see you or the ship. It would cause panic. Nyara nodded, but her eyes sparkled with curiosity. More humans to study. How fascinating. No studying, Maya hissed, shoving her alien friend toward the ship. Hide. The ship's hull rippled, creating a small opening, and Nyara slipped inside just as a family of hikers rounded the bend. Maya plastered on her best ranger smile and stepped forward to intercept them. Good morning. This area is currently closed for wildlife observation, she announced cheerfully, silently thanking her years of experience in redirecting tourists. But I'd be happy to point you toward some excellent alternative trails. As she guided the disappointed hikers away, she could have sworn she heard a musical chuckle from the direction of the ship. Great. She was harboring a curious alien anthropologist with no concept of stealth or secrecy. When she returned, Nyara had emerged again, her expression thoughtful. Your ability to deceive is remarkable, she observed. My people are physically incapable of speaking untruths. It wasn't exactly a lie, Maya defended. This area is closed, and I am observing wildlife. Sort of. She gestured at Nyara with a smirk. Fascinating. You use partial truths to construct alternative narratives. I must document this. Nyara began manipulating her holographic displays again. Oh no, Maya groaned. I'm going to end up as a case study in alien anthropology, aren't I? Xenoanthropology, Nyara corrected primly. And yes, absolutely. Your species has already exceeded my expectations in the first 24 hours of contact. Did you know you're the first human to drink coffee with one of my kind? That alone will revolutionize our understanding of human biochemical adaptability. Maya shook her head, amused despite herself. Well, if I'm going to be famous in alien academia, at least let me teach you about some real human culture. Starting with, she reached into her backpack, trail mix. Nyara's eyes focused on the bag with intense interest. Another ritual beverage? Better. It's a sacred human hiking tradition of mixing nuts, dried fruit, and chocolate into the perfect snack. Maya poured some into Nyara's hand. Just don't tell any other xenoanthropologists that I already introduced you to coffee and trail mix. They might accuse me of corrupting their research subject. As Nyara cautiously sampled the trail mix, her eyes swirling with new colors at the taste of chocolate, Maya couldn't help but marvel at the situation. Somewhere out there, alien scholars were debating humanity's existence, and here she was, teaching one of them about hiker snacks and emergency repairs. The first sign of trouble came 3 days after Nyara's crash landing. Maya was checking the ship's repaired power core when her radio crackled to life with unusual static. Through the interference, she caught fragments of unfamiliar code words and military jargon. Nyara, she called out, her voice tense. I think we have a problem. The alien emerged from her ship, her normally iridescent skin showing subtle signs of fatigue. The Earth's atmosphere, while breathable for her species, was taking its toll. What kind of problem? The kind that comes with heavy boots and classified clearance, Maya replied, adjusting her radio's frequency. Listen. Through the static, a clear voice cut through. anomaly detected in Sector 7, energy signature matches pattern Omega, all units converge on coordinates. Nyara's multifaceted eyes dimmed slightly. Your planet's authorities have detected my ship's energy signature. Worse, Maya said grimly. Those aren't Park Service channels. This is something else entirely. She began quickly gathering their tools and supplies. We need to move. Now. The ship's core is still not fully stabilized, Nyara protested. Moving it could trigger a cascade failure. And staying here could trigger an international incident, Maya countered. She paused, looking up at the towering redwoods that had sheltered them. There's an old fire road about 2 miles north. It leads to an abandoned ranger station in a grove of second-growth forest. Not as majestic as these old giants, but more secluded, Nyara finished. She pressed her hand against the ship's hull, closing her eyes in concentration. The liquid metal surface rippled in response. I can reconfigure the outer shell to minimize energy emissions, but it will drain significant power from our already compromised systems. The radio crackled again, thermal imaging teams deploying. ETA 30 minutes. Do it, Maya decided. I'll figure out how to get us there. What followed was the most bizarre game of hide-and-seek Maya had ever played. Using her knowledge of the park's back trails and maintenance roads, she guided Nyara's reconfigured ship through the forest. The vessel now resembled a large, metallic boulder, strange, perhaps, but less conspicuous than a shimmering alien craft. They moved slowly, carefully, using the dense canopy for cover. Maya's heart raced every time she heard the distant thrum of helicopter rotors or caught glimpses of dark vehicles moving along the main park roads. But it wasn't their pursuers that worried her most. Nyara's condition was deteriorating. The alien's movements had become less fluid, her skin losing its lustrous sheen. When they finally reached the abandoned ranger station as dusk approached, Nyara practically collapsed against the weathered wooden walls. Hey, Maya knelt beside her, concern etching her features. What's happening to you? Nyara's eyes swirled with muted colors. My biological systems are struggling to adapt. Earth's magnetic field, the atmospheric composition, the gravity, they're all slightly wrong. My ship's environmental controls usually compensate, but with the power diverted to stealth systems. Why didn't you say something? Maya demanded, already digging through her backpack for the first aid kit, though what good human medicine would do for an alien, she had no idea. Because you were already risking enough to help me, Nyara replied simply. I did not wish to add to your burden. Maya sat back on her heels, running a hand through her disheveled hair. That's the most human thing you've said yet. A weak chuckle escaped Nyara. Perhaps your species' stubborn self-sacrifice is contagious. Their moment was interrupted by a sound that made Maya's blood run cold, dogs barking in the distance. Search teams were getting closer. We need to get you back in the ship, Maya decided. If we can restore power to the environmental controls. The core is too unstable, Nyara shook her head. Without proper containment, the energy release could. I know. Devastate the forest, probably alert every sensor within 100 miles. Maya paced the small cabin, mind racing. There has to be a way to stabilize it using local materials. Nyara's eyes followed her movement. You're doing it again. Doing what? Approaching an impossible problem as if it must have a solution. This is why my people thought humans were myths. This, relentless optimism in the face of overwhelming odds. Maya stopped pacing. Is it working? Actually. Nyara struggled to her feet, moving to the cabin's window. The ship sat outside, disguised as a boulder, its surface dull and lifeless. Your planet's mineral composition. The redwoods themselves. They're rich in elements that could theoretically stabilize the core, if we could find a way to process and integrate them. Hold that thought, Maya said, heading for the door. I need to check something in the station's old storage shed. She returned moments later with a dusty piece of equipment, an ancient tree core sampling tool. Would this work for collecting samples? It's designed to take cylindrical cores from trees to study their rings, but... Nyara's eyes lit up, colors swirling with renewed energy. Yes. Yes, with modifications, this could work. We would need to adjust the resonance frequency to match the molecular structure of. She was cut off by the sound of vehicles approaching on the old fire road. Maya quickly drew the cabin's faded curtains. Okay, new plan. I'll lead them away from here while you work on the modifications. There's a creek about half a mile east, I'll make it look like we went that direction. Maya, Nyara caught her arm, her touch sending a slight electric tingle through Maya's skin. Your myths speak of humans performing great feats, but they never mention the cost. What will happen to you if you're caught? Maya managed a smile. Let's not find out. Besides, I'm just a park ranger who happened to spot some suspicious activity. They can't prove anything else. As she slipped out the cabin's back door into the gathering darkness, Maya tried to convince herself that was true. But she knew too much now, about alien civilizations, about cover-ups, about the fact that somewhere in the universe, humans were considered too incredible to be real. Maya's boots splashed through the creek, deliberately leaving tracks in the muddy bank before doubling back through the water. The beam of a searchlight swept through the trees behind her, accompanied by the steady drone of a helicopter. She'd been playing this game of misdirection for hours, leaving false trails and suspicious signs of movement away from the cabin. Her radio, stolen from one of the search team's abandoned vehicles, crackled with frustrated chatter. They were losing her trail. Good. When she finally made it back to the cabin, she found Nyara surrounded by dismantled equipment and crystalline cores extracted from the ancient redwoods. The alien's skin had taken on a concerning grayish tinge, but her eyes burned with intense focus. Please tell me you found something, Maya said, collapsing onto the cabin's worn floor. Nyara held up a crystal cylinder that seemed to pulse with its own inner light. The cellular structure of your redwoods, it's remarkable. They've developed natural quantum channels to share resources and information across vast networks. With modifications, we could use these properties to stabilize my ship's core. That's great news, Maya started, but Nyara wasn't finished. But there's something else. The alien's voice had taken on an odd tone. These patterns, these quantum signatures, they're familiar. Too familiar. Maya sat up straighter, something in Nyara's voice setting off warning bells. What do you mean? The basis of my people's technology, our biological computing, our energy manipulation, it all stems from ancient artifacts we discovered on our homeworld. Artifacts that, until now, we believed were left by precursor gods. Nyara's multifaceted eyes fixed on Maya. But the quantum signature in these trees matches those artifacts perfectly. The implications hit Maya like a physical blow. Are you saying? Humans weren't myths, Nyara said softly. You were our precursors. Your species visited our world in the distant past, leaving behind technology that would guide our evolution. But something made you withdraw, retreat back to Earth. The question is, what? Before Maya could process this revelation, the cabin's door burst open. Both women spun to face it, but instead of military forces, they found themselves staring at a tall figure in a crisp civilian suit. That, the man said calmly, is a very interesting question. Maya moved instinctively to stand between the stranger and Nyara. Who are you? Dr. James Chen, the man replied, closing the door behind him. And yes, the surname isn't a coincidence. Hello, little sister. Maya felt her world tilt sideways. James. But you disappeared 10 years ago. Your research facility didn't explode, he finished. It made contact. He looked past her to Nyara. Though not with your species. The universe, it turns out, is more crowded than we thought. Nyara had risen to her feet, though she swayed slightly. You know of my people? We know of many people, James replied. We've been watching, waiting, trying to understand why Earth became a cosmic ghost story. And now, thanks to my sister's involvement, we finally have a chance to fix an ancient mistake. What mistake? Maya demanded. James, what are you talking about? Her brother's expression softened. The same mistake humans always make, trying to help without understanding the consequences. Our ancestors didn't just leave technology on other worlds, Maya. They were trying to seed the galaxy with life, with potential. But something went wrong. The quantum networks they created began to resonate incorrectly, causing cascading failures across multiple worlds. The stories of our world speak of a great calamity, Nyara interjected. A time when the very fabric of reality seemed to unravel. Our oldest records say the gods withdrew their power to save us. Not gods, James corrected. Humans. They shut down the networks, erased their presence, became myths, because the alternative was watching countless civilizations tear themselves apart at the quantum level. Maya's mind raced. The Redwoods. Their quantum network, it's still active, still stable after thousands of years. That's why Nyara's ship crashed here, it resonated with the original frequency. James nodded. And that's why we need your help. Both of you. The search teams outside. They're not here to capture or silence you. They're here because we've been waiting for this moment for generations, a chance to finally repair what our ancestors broke. Nyara stepped forward, her weakness seemingly forgotten in the face of this revelation. My ship's core. The instability. Is a symptom of the larger problem, James finished. The quantum networks are trying to reconnect, but without proper synchronization, they're tearing themselves apart. Just like they did millennia ago. Maya looked between her long-lost brother and her alien friend, seeing the weight of history and responsibility in both their faces. So what do we do? We use the Redwoods, Nyara said suddenly, her eyes swirling with new understanding. Their network is pure, untainted by artificial manipulation. If we can use it as a template, recalibrate the quantum frequencies across all affected worlds. It could restore the connection our ancestors tried to create, James nodded. But safely this time, naturally. The way it should have been done from the beginning. Maya picked up one of the crystal cores they'd extracted, watching the light pulse within it like a heartbeat. No pressure, she said dryly. We just have to fix the fabric of spacetime using tree samples and duct tape. Dawn broke over the redwood forest as Maya, Nyara, and James made their final preparations. They had moved Nyara's ship to the heart of the oldest grove, where the quantum resonance from the ancient trees was strongest. Around them, teams of scientists and technicians, James's people, worked quietly, setting up monitoring equipment in quantum field stabilizers. It's strange, Maya said, watching the morning mist weave between the massive trunks. These trees have been here all along, quietly maintaining the last pure quantum network in the galaxy. Makes you wonder what other secrets they're keeping. Nyara's condition had improved slightly thanks to equipment James's team had brought, but her skin still flickered weakly. On my world, there is a concept called silent guardians, beings that protect without recognition or reward. Your redwoods have been exactly that. James approached them, holding a tablet displaying complex quantum measurements. The resonance patterns are aligning. If we're going to do this, it needs to be soon. The old network is becoming increasingly unstable. Maya looked at the crystal cores they'd extracted, now integrated into a complex array around Nyara's ship. Each one pulsed with living light, synchronized to the ancient rhythm of the redwood grove. So we use these as a template to recalibrate the quantum frequencies across all the affected worlds. But what happens to the trees? They'll survive, James assured her. We're not taking their energy, just copying their pattern. Think of it as using their song to retune the universe's orchestra. That, Maya smirked, is the most hippie scientist thing you've ever said. The quantum harmonics are reaching critical threshold, one of the technicians called out. We need to begin. Nyara placed her hand on her ship's hull, and the liquid metal surface came alive with swirling patterns. I've configured the core to act as a transmission node. Once we initiate the sequence, it will broadcast the new frequency pattern through the remnants of the old network. Like a ripple in a pond, Maya nodded, but through space-time instead of water. Exactly, James said. But there's one problem. The transmission needs to be modulated in real time. Someone needs to stay with the ship, adjusting the quantum flow to match the redwood's natural rhythm. Given the energy involved. He trailed off. It could be fatal, Nyara finished quietly. The quantum feedback alone would overwhelm most nervous systems. She straightened, her multifaceted eyes resolute. I will do it. No, Maya said immediately. Your system is already strained from Earth's environment. It would kill you instantly. Then what do you suggest? Nyara asked. Your human biology cannot process quantum information directly. Maya smiled slowly. Can't we? James, remember when we were kids, and you taught me to feel the vibrations in Mom's old piano strings? How to match frequencies by touch. Her brother's eyes widened. Maya, no. This is several billion orders of magnitude more complex than piano tuning. But the principle is the same, she insisted. And humans? We're really good at doing impossible things through pure stubborn determination. Isn't that right, Nyara? The alien's eyes swirled with concern and something else, pride, perhaps. The myths do say humans achieved their greatest feats through sheer force of will. And we're about to prove those myths true. Maya moved to the ship's control interface. Nyara, you'll have to guide me. James, monitor the quantum fields. Let's rewrite some ancient history. What followed was like nothing Maya had ever experienced. As the sequence initiated, she felt the quantum energies flow through her body like liquid lightning. Every nerve ending screamed in protest, but she forced herself to focus on the rhythms, the patterns, the pure song of the redwoods that had echoed through time for millennia. Nyara's voice guided her, teaching her to feel the quantum frequencies as if they were music. James called out measurements, helping her adjust and stabilize the flow. Through her pain-hazed vision, Maya saw the crystal cores blazing with light, their energy reaching up through the redwood canopy into the sky above. The ship's core pulsed in harmony with the trees, sending waves of quantum information cascading through space. Maya felt each transmission like a physical blow, but she held on, matching the frequencies, maintaining the flow. In her mind's eye, she could almost see the network reforming, not the rigid, artificial construct their ancestors had created, but something organic, natural, growing like roots between the stars. It's working, James shouted over the growing hum of energy. The quantum signatures are stabilizing across all monitored systems. Maya could barely hear him. Her entire world had narrowed to the flow of energy, the rhythm of the redwoods, the delicate balance between order and chaos. Her hands moved instinctively across the controls, making microscopic adjustments that rippled across light years. Just when she thought she couldn't hold on any longer, everything changed. The pain vanished, replaced by a sensation of connection so profound it brought tears to her eyes. For one brilliant moment, she felt everything, the ancient pulse of the redwoods, the quantum dance of atoms in the air, the vast network stretching between worlds, linking all life in a symphony of light and energy. Then, as gently as a falling leaf, it was over. Maya collapsed, caught by both James and Nyara before she hit the ground. Above them, the morning sky shimmered with aurora-like waves of quantum energy, the visible echo of what they'd accomplished. Did it work? She managed to ask. Nyara's eyes were swirling with colors Maya had never seen before. Beyond our highest expectations. The network, it's beautiful. Natural. Self-sustaining. Your redwoods taught it how to grow. And you, James added, checking Maya's vital signs with shaking hands, just helped rewrite the fundamental structure of spacetime. How do you feel? Maya laughed weakly. Like I just bench-pressed the universe. But also, complete, somehow. Like we just fixed something that's been broken for a very long time. You did more than that, Nyara said softly. You proved that the myths were not just true, they were too limited. Your ancestors may have made mistakes, but you showed us how to fix them. Not through advanced technology or evolutionary advantages, but through that uniquely human combination of determination, intuition, and the ability to see patterns in chaos. Maya looked up at the ancient redwoods that had made it all possible. So what happens now? Now, James smiled, we begin a new chapter. With the quantum network restored properly, communication and cooperation between civilizations will be possible again. Earth is no longer a myth, it's a bridge between worlds. And I, Nyara added, her eyes twinkling, have the most amazing research paper to write. Humans, from mythical beings to universal problem solvers. Though I may need to consult with a certain park ranger for fact-checking. Maya grinned, already feeling strength returning to her limbs. Only if you promise to include a section on the importance of duct tape in quantum mechanics. As the morning sun rose higher, its light filtering through the redwood canopy, Maya thought about the long chain of events that had led to this moment. A crashed ship, a mysterious alien, an ancient mistake, and a grove of trees that had quietly maintained the last pure quantum network in existence. Sometimes, it seemed, the most important guardians of the universe weren't the most advanced or the most powerful, they were simply the ones who never gave up, who kept trying, who believed that every problem had a solution if you just looked at it the right way. Maybe that's what made humans special after all. Not that they were myths come to life, but that they never stopped trying to write new stories, better stories, ones where ancient mistakes could be fixed and different worlds could come together in harmony.